Welcome back for the last panel for today's virtual conference. So we have the pleasure in welcoming back Sarah Clark, our moderator for the panel discussion on the new era of advertising for video entertainment. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you, Shana. So we've got 45 minutes to cover a lot of content. During this next 45 minutes of conversation, we hope to cover key issues, including live streaming, the business opportunities that come with that, how to reach and connect to the target audience from an advertising perspective, of course, and how to create an addressable advertising offer. So I've got a group of fantastic panelists who are with me now. I'm going to go straight to Virginia. Can you each one of you, give me a 60-second spiel about who you are, your company, and where you're at in the market at the moment? Virginia.
Look, so I'm the CEO of Havas Media, so fantastic to be here talking to you all. So my original background was I started an indie agency and built it from scratch that was acquired by Havas Media in 2020. We are in a transformational stage, obviously merging two businesses together and looking at what our offering is in market as one of the globals that competes for clients to come and work with us.
Okay, I'll move around. Shani, can I get to, who are you? And tell me the role that you're playing with Paramount.
I'm Shani. I recently joined Paramount, the newly named Paramount, as the Digital Advertising Strategy and Product Director. What that means is that I'm responsible for Paramount ANZ's commercial innovation strategy across our streaming platforms, currently 10Play and Paramount Plus.
And moving along to Elisa. Elisa, can you tell us who you are and your company?
Sure, thanks, Sarah. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, I'm Elisa. I'm the head of partnerships for TikTok. I lead a team of industry specialists. We take marketers on a journey to understand and then get the most out of the TikTok platform. In terms of our journey, we're 2 years old in the market, and we really want to help brands to lead with creativity in their marketing messages. And entertainment marketing is something that's really found its home on TikTok. We know consumers love talking about what they're watching. They enjoy making recommendations, and they want to do that with like-minded people. And we really think TikTok is the place for people to do that.
Okay, and finally, we have Alex. Alex from Samsung. Tell me about who you are and your company and where you're at the moment in the market.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Burzum. I'm the general manager for Samsung Ads here in Australia. For those that don't know about us yet, we're an audience and advertising platform. We essentially are in the business of improving marketing performance for advertisers across the Samsung TV ecosystem. We're in an early stage for our business. We just launched in Australia last year. We opened shop in Q1 21. One of the ways in which we help advertisers is we have the largest source of smart TV data in the industry, and that enables a lot of use cases that you've already alluded to, like reaching the right audience, etc. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here, so thank you for having me.
Okay, we've got 45 minutes to cover this, and we've got a lot of content to get through. So let's start with the big picture, the state of the video landscape in Australia and New Zealand. Let's look at the consumer behaviour, the changes in consumer behaviour. Did streaming overcome traditional TV? And let's start with you, Alex.
In short, yes. So the consumption certainly supports that argument. So we have visibility of what happens across millions of smart TVs in the country, and streaming now represents 65% of viewing time on Samsung smart TVs. And so a year ago or so, you would have seen something closer to 50-50. Time has grown as well. It's now an average of 3 hours per day on average that Australian households are streaming. That's up by a third. But what the data also shows, there's growth across the TV that includes free-to-air television. It's still very much part of the average Australian viewership experience. It's just that streaming has grown and continues to grow at the fastest pace, and so that can make it a bit harder for brands to reach their audiences across a more fragmented TV experience. But the question is, has it overcome traditional TV? Yes, by time spent, it has.
Yeah, Shani, looking at coming to you, do you agree?
I disagree. Look, in Australia, broadcast linear TV is the most viewed and monetized form of media in Australia. The Think TV Fact Pack that's just been released actually shows that TV represents over 74% of all in-home video viewing across all devices in the home. And then when you look to the Think TV Fact Pack, SVOD represents just under 14%. Look, there are loads of claims about streaming that look at reach and like monthly usage, but where TV has the advantage is in time spent. That's not to say that viewing behavior isn't changing. It's my job to care about streaming, but I don't think we can say yet that streaming has overcome traditional TV in Australia. When I think about Paramount, our programming skews younger, and we're generally seeing upwards of about 25% of total viewership coming from BVOD on certain programs. However, the majority of viewership comes from linear TV from our point of view.
Virginia, what are your thoughts?
I think, Sarah, from my perspective, as we look at, how audiences are shifting over time and what I consider to be streaming. So I consider BVOD really to be streaming at the end of the day, right? To me, streaming is watching what you want to watch, when you want to watch it, wherever you want to watch. And so from my perspective, if you look at younger audiences and if you really burrow into the under 20s, you'll find that 100% or near to 100% of their time is spent streaming, whether that's BVOD, AVOD, whatever you want to define streaming as. And I think what we're going to see in the next decade is a serious shift away from linear television as the older audiences get older and the younger audience start to move into their 20s. So I definitely think we need to take streaming incredibly seriously and really understand how we engage older audiences, younger audiences in the right way that they want to be engaged.
Lisa, what are your thoughts?
I think, TikTok, I can definitely speak to the under 20s. We have a large share of that audience, although we do continue to grow. It is very much a changing landscape. I think COVID has really accelerated changes that were already in place. I don't think it's made things happen that weren't going to happen anyway, but that acceleration is what we've really seen. We definitely see a shift in the entertainment paradigm. So the difference from people wanting to just lean back and passively consume entertainment versus wanting to be part of that entertainment, to kind of co-create, to be part of a community, to be engaging with other like-minded people. And that's really how we're seeing people engage with entertainment on TikTok.
You mentioned COVID, and this is again to all of you because it's a question I think that it does involve all of us and you'll all have a perspective on it. Audience behaviour of late, I mean, has it changed because of COVID, and do you think it will return to post-pandemic, if there will ever be a post-pandemic, or are we entering a new era, you think, when it comes to consumer behaviour? Virginia.
So I really think that looking at the experience that everyone has had during the COVID times, we were so forced to stream content because there was nothing else to do day and night, that what I've seen, even with younger audiences and the teens right up to older audiences, is this switch from screen time to personal connection. And so what I'm seeing is that there's a true appreciation for experiences again, going to restaurants, catching up with friends, and actually appreciating now more personal connection than screen time. So I think we are shifting away from the depth of the consumption of screen time that we had, but that's not to say that we're not still consuming significant amounts of content online. So certainly, though, there is a pushback to real world connection.
Alex, do you agree with Virginia? Do you think are we going to return to a different type of consumer behaviour post-COVID world?
No, I don't. I agree. I think so. Look, not to be the dead horse, but yes, the pandemic has kept people at home. It's probably driven a decade worth of technology adoption in 2 or 3 years. What we see on TVs, what that means really is that people have become incredibly comfortable with app-based television, and I don't think that's cyclical. That's here to stay. From our point of view, what's now becoming interesting is the dynamic between the streaming services and the advertising funded services. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We see an average of 2.7 streaming services is what the average household subscribes to. So now you enter a time of rising cost of living, rising interest rates. So you could imagine that there's a limitation to that. And I think consumers are discovering more of the ad-supported services, both AVOD and FAST. So we think there'll be, as people uncover those, there'll be more engagement across those.
Shani, from Paramount's perspective, what are your thoughts? Are we entering a new era?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. I think, to Alex's point around a new era around content consumption, and where you'll find that is on that AVOD, BVOD, and FAST services. We see that in the US with Pluto TV globally, and we see this significant rise in increase in viewership and time spent on Pluto TV. Definitely see that. And I think in terms of changing viewer consumption behaviors, will we see them going back to pre-COVID times? I really don't think so. I think, entertainment is paramount, but the way that you consume it is different, and how you experience it, to Virginia's point, is that a lot more. I don't think it's so much lean back now. It is absolutely more lean forward. And in terms of an advertising experience, that's what users and viewers are expecting now. They expect a premium viewing experience, whether that's your actual content, or whether your UX or the advertising that's delivered and the way that it's delivered to you.
Yeah, Lisa, coming to another question, reaching the right audience in a more and more streaming world, what are the tools for advertisers, or the best, most effective tools?
Yeah, and I'll just add on a point from the last question as well, thinking about those audiences and that change in behavior. I know we're all obviously looking at our own data packs, but we've quadrupled our user base. We really grew through the time of the pandemic, when people did have a lot of time, but there's not been a turn away from TikTok. And looking at our daily time spent, that just continues to grow even as people come out of lockdowns. So then thinking about how advertisers can connect with people or find those audiences. For us, we really liked that people use our short form video platform to help drive subscriptions to, whether it's your streaming service, whether it's launching a new film, promoting a new TV show, or it's really letting the audience engage. And that's come up as a theme, I think, of kind of that lean forward, playing with your brand assets. So it could be something like the transformational moment you give people when they do a Cinderella challenge using a branded effect when we've launched a new show, or we see our audience, they're sharing makeup tricks to look like their favorite character, or you could even create a whole universe on TikTok. So we did that. The Daily Bugle launched. You could be a reporter when they launched Spider-Man No Way Home last year, back in December. So we know that TikTok, people who use TikTok, more than half of them have discovered a new show or a new actor just by consuming content with us. And then they go afterwards and they look for that content. They go and see where they can stream it, where they can go and watch the film. And after they've seen it, a quarter of them come back and create content and repost about it again and make recommendations. It's this kind of virtuous cycle for our entertainment partners to use the platform.
Alex, coming to you on the issue of the best tools, or reaching the right audience in this streaming world, what do you think are the most effective tools for advertisers?
Look, I think connected television in itself has been a tool for many, in that it's made TV more accessible for some advertisers, many of whom might have previously not been in the TV ad space. It's added a lot of capabilities that weren't there before. Maybe to give you one example that we think makes a ton of sense for virtually any Australian TV advertisers. What our research shows is 44% of smart TVs consume very little or no free-to-air television, so none cord cutters or less than 3 hours per month. And so those audiences become virtually impossible to reach if you don't account for their leaning towards app-based television. That's something where we can bring tools to solve that conundrum. We call it automated content recognition, or in short, ACR. It basically identifies what plays on the TV. It could be a program or a video game or an ad. And then we can do things like we identify all the TVs that's been exposed to your ad, we exclude them, and then we target all the TVs that's not been exposed to your ad in a streaming environment, and boom, you have a very cost-effective, unduplicated reach. So those are tools that become possible in CTV that weren't there before.
Virginia or Shani, do you want to weigh in on that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go for it.
You go, Shani.
Look, I think being able to apply data and technology to modernize linear TV provides marketers with a diverse set of tools to reach the right audience, right? And I'm going to say it, I'm going to say the word addressable, but addressable TV allows brands and agencies to access inventory that's safe, fraud-free, and also be able to leverage more accurate data than has historically been available to advertisers to access in order to plan, activate, and measure their media. Addressability specifically on CTV allows it to be utilized as both of a top of funnel awareness and brand building medium. So when you're thinking about your reach, and as well as a lower funnel buy with more and more of those interactivity and sending information to your second screen, whether it's your phone or your tablet.
Virginia.
I think from my perspective, Sarah, reach is not the battleground anymore, to be honest. I think there are great data capabilities that sit with clients and also with agencies. We've really worked hard as an industry over the last 4 years to build our data capabilities, understand audiences. So reach no longer becomes the battleground. What is the battleground is influencing audiences and aligning to environments that actually improve the audience experience. And I really challenge the creativity that we're bringing to the problem for marketers, because if you look at the experience that we're currently providing on streaming channels, the advertising is pretty substandard to where we need to be. We need to engage audiences, excite them, influence them. We know how to reach them. We have incredible data capabilities across with our media partners and internally. It's now the fact that if I see a Mitsubishi ad 10 times in the one program and it's the same ad running, I think it kills anyone's joy in watching that content. So I think the battleground is not reach. It's actually how do we improve how we talk to audiences in those environments creatively.
Well, looking at video consumption again, obviously post-COVID, are there new advertising opportunities? Not since the pandemic, we still kind of are in the pandemic, but certainly are there down the track? Who wants to kick that one off? Elisa.
Yeah, and I'd follow on just saying, oh, sorry, getting an echo. I love that you mentioned creativity, because that's the space that we're really trying to play in TikTok. And community, again, it's kind of the overlap of creativity and community, which is really driving audiences here. So we've coined this term called community generated entertainment. It's the type of videos that they co-create, they're curating, it's part of building with community, it's to celebrate that fandom. And it's a bit different to UGC, which is individual and a bit impersonalized, because it's just about yourself. It's not about engaging with the community. So we think we have a really creative canvas here for brands to be able to engage with that audience. We know in terms of awareness, you'll see any campaign on TikTok just really delivers well above Kantar norms, because our audience is so engaged and open to discovery. And then as you move further down the funnel into consideration, half of our audience, after discovering a new movie or show, they'll go to the website, they'll go and look up the streaming service or the TV channel it's available on. And for that all important, in the bottom of the conversion bucket, we know that 29% of people will actually go and stream the show or buy the ticket. So we're seeing kind of new opportunities, I guess, with this creative canvas. But the advice I'd have for marketers is, as I said at the beginning, we're only 2 years old. We don't have all the answers and all the best practice just yet. And I'd really have an open mindset about experimenting and working out how your brand is going to play here, because authenticity, it's really the cultural mainstay on TikTok. It's really what people expect from brands these days.
Alex, what are your thoughts on video consumption supposedly post-COVID pandemic?
Look, first of all, I think from our point of view, there's something that's changed in the role of the television. TVs used to be a relatively dumb device, and you'd use it to either watch cable or free to air. Right? And now you have these devices that's become a lot smarter. A lot has changed in terms of capabilities, interactivity, choice, and breadth of content. And so it's, from our point of view, it's quickly turning into from a dumb device into the smart entertainment hub of the home. It offers advertisers a premium environment with really high levels of engagement. So in that sense, it's just like traditional TV. Coming back to Virginia's points, probably one of the best canvases that you can have to solve the creative battleground, if I can use your words there. But it also becomes more interesting because there's measurability and accountability that previously was reserved to the digital domain. So I think those are all trends that are here to stay, and there's opportunity there. It'll only become bigger as AVOD starts to play a larger role. We'll see that shift, and I think that's just a post-COVID. Can we say post-COVID? Yeah, with that optimistic.
Post-lockdown, maybe.
I think that's a reality that we're in, and for advertisers and marketers that can navigate that space and adopt early, I think on a risk-adjusted basis, they get disproportionate returns.
Virginia, can I ask you about the state of addressable advertising in the region? Your thoughts?
Look, I think we're still in our infancy stage of addressable TV. I think there's a lot of debate around how far should we go, and do we become stalkers, or do we back off a little bit in how we address audiences? So there's a lot of work to do to unpack and uncover still how we use addressable TV to the benefit of a brand, and how intrusive it is to an audience, and do they really want us to be, targeting them so specifically. So I still think there's a lot of work to do in this area to actually get the right balance around, how much a brand plays a role, or how we rather use entertainment to engage audiences as opposed to, addressing everything we know about that person at that time and what they're interested in. So much to debate. So I'm sure that the other team members will have some interesting ideas around that area.
Shani, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, Australia's BVOD inventory is 100% addressable. You combine that with the fact that we're the most advanced programmatic market globally. I think that we're well on our way to being one of the leaders when it comes to addressable solutions. I think there's a long way to go, a really long way to go. But when I think about addressability, I think about the fact that, marketers are looking for the best solution to help them reach consumers. And addressable TV advertising is one of the most powerful mechanisms to build brand awareness and drive sales revenue. If I think about, one of our second-party data partners, Flybuys, and I think about an FMCG brand, and if you're a toothpaste, you want to better understand, how can you reach lapsed of this brand, toothpaste buyers, and then how can you measure that uplift? That's the beauty and the joy of addressable TV and advertising. But then you add that creativity to it. And this is, I think, what Virginia talks about and Alex is talking about, well, everyone's talking about, but that opportunity to use the biggest screen in the house beyond just that lean back experience. So, viewer first advertising experiences are where it's at for us, really not disrupting and annoying our viewers because they're just one click away from choosing another platform, another app, another whatever. So we see this when we launched our premium pause format. And we also see this globally when you look at the likes of Paramount and the interactive advertising opportunities using your remote and driving through to those I guess impact, engagement, and action outcomes.
Alex, I can see you leaning forward. Would you like to weigh into that one? What's the state of addressable advertising in the region? Or I've got another one.
Yeah, look, I think the addressability is key from our point of view. We think things like automated content recognition enables use cases. And it could be household level targeting, frequency capping at a household level, or targeting specific audiences to a degree that you weren't able to do before. However, I agree with Virginia's point that there's limitations to that. I think this industry, I mean, the advertising industry by and large, and I don't think we did ourselves any favors when in web we started chasing you with a banner for the pair of sneakers that you had already bought. And obviously that infrastructure is sort of coming a bit to a halt. It's not working in the same way anymore. But the TV is a household device, and we must not forget that. There's opportunity because it's not plagued by the same troubles. It's not plagued by, say, for instance, cookies as third-party driven identifiers. It's self-contained as a good starting point to work with consented audiences and viewership segmentation that's privacy compliant. And I think there's a way to do that that's less intrusive than, say, monetizing your search history or your last shopping cart. But I would say we need to be judicious in the way that we do it, in the way that we use data. And the North Star ultimately needs to be if there's benefit for the consumer.
So again, data-driven ad insertion. How far then can brands and manufacturers go in terms of segmentation? Whoever wants to kick it off. Virginia?
Look, in terms of how far can they go, enormously deep. So, we can really understand who's purchasing what products, where to find more of those people within that pattern of behavior. So we can go incredibly deep. And, sometimes though, again, I truly believe, in entertainment beats interruption every day of the week. So even though we can segment and become very clever with audiences, I really hope that our creative partners, take up that challenge in terms of working with us to develop better ways to actually engage with those audiences. So we can go, very, very deep these days, but doesn't mean that we're going to drive influence unless we have great creativity alongside us.
I agree.
Shani,
I think,
yeah.
Look, I 100% subscribe to what Virginia said. Technology is moving so rapidly in this space. Companies like Iris.tv and technology partners of ours like Curve Interactive allow for contextual ad placements that are moving beyond video, beyond standard pre and mid rolls and into the content itself, doing this in a respectful way, but in a creative way. When we think about companies like Triple Lift, who are shifting their focus to CTV and are offering advanced TV advertising solutions using existing SSAI frameworks, there's a real opportunity there to think about data-driven ad insertion with a creative lens, as Virginia talks about, and that opportunity to really think about combining contextual user and advertiser data in a previously compliant way to communicate to audiences is super powerful. And it's that opportunity to really deliver an individualized to household experience to your customers or customers to be. That's really where it's at, right? But it's important to identify where that sits within your brand's advertising strategy as well.
Okay, we're looking at merging video entertainment with e-commerce. Elisa, is this a market that you see that has high potential?
It's definitely something that we're experimenting with. You'll have noticed I'm a little bit obsessed with community. That's our theme here at TikTok, but community commerce is another really strong theme for us. So live shopping events, it's something that's definitely nascent in this market, but something we're definitely looking into. I think the first thing really that you have to consider is the definition of what live programming now looks like. I think, with a traditional lens, we're thinking live sport, live concerts, things like that. But on tech platforms, of course, anyone can go live any day of the week. And so the live streaming that you're seeing, it can be quite mundane sometimes. It might be someone counting something. There's some kind of ASMR live streaming going on. But we're also doing some really exciting live streaming, whether it's music or we've been doing live streams from red carpets, for example. So I think once we establish with consumers and audiences that live streaming, attending live events in that way from home, once we kind of have the audience more used to that, we do start thinking about how we can commercialize that audience for our brand partners. And again, it is through entertainment, as Virginia keeps saying. So we're kind of really looking at with this community commerce. It's what happens when audiences create with brands. It's like word of mouth marketing, but really at the next level. So it's powered by entertaining stories and experiences from creators that the brands just happen to feature in. That's where you're really going to see success. I think what's interesting about that for consumers is it breaks the traditional advertising mold. So it's new, it's novel. And then from a marketer's point of view, you have an opportunity to speak to an audience in a completely different way. So as I said, we're still experimenting. We had Mecca, so the makeup brand was our initial launch partner last year in trying that format. And there's definitely going to be more product innovation and things from TikTok to come in that space this year.
I love the live shopping on TikTok. I think it's great.
Okay, Alex, do you want to weigh into that one? Looking at the merging video entertainment with e-commerce, is there potential market value in the future, or what are your thoughts?
Look, I think we'll probably see more R&D on end-to-end measurement, end-to-end connectivity. We already have that in the entertainment space. We have ad formats that we see content advertisers use as a help to discoverability, and we're able to connect end-to-end, whether that has led to a subscriber or say to movie purchase. Is a bit of crystal balling, but I don't think it's too far-fetched to imagine that we'll see similar things evolve in the e-commerce space. I don't know if that's QR codes or other mechanisms, but there's possibilities for sure.
I want to move along, just looking. Oh, no, you go.
Sorry, I was going to say, Sarah, what I'd say too, like, our clients and the marketers are super keen on understanding, this whole social commerce space, and it's something that certainly has, a lot of opportunity surrounded. If you look at how we operate, the consumers operate in this world, it's all about instant gratification. And so we move more into that space in the digital landscape. And I think with social commerce or e-commerce in the digital landscape, as long as we make it frictionless and easy, and our lesson is not to take people away from the entertainment moment where they can do it with ease without even having to think too hard, we're finding that we can get incredibly strong gains, and really it can play a very strong role for brands in lifting sales. You have that captive audience, they're in that consideration phase, and it really is the very best primed opportunity to convert, providing we make it frictionless and easy.
Sarah, I have to jump in here because I'm super passionate about e-commerce. Look, BVOD has become strategically vital for e-commerce businesses around the globe in recent years, and especially today. The intersection of content and commerce represents a huge opportunity. We know that content inspires commerce, as Lisa has talked to, but we know that Paramount viewers are often inspired by and passionate about our content. With e-commerce on streaming platforms, we can take that passion and turn it into a purchase using technology like artificial intelligence and machine learning to bridge that gap. Is what is going to drive that scale, right? And I think actually TikTok have partnered with companies like Curve Interactive who can power that technology, and they also have that opportunity and ability to power that technology on a big TV screen as well. So one of the things that I think is really important for us at Paramount is we're working on reimagining that viewing experience to create an engaging, interactive commerce ecosystem for the consumer. It's all about driving measurable results for brands and respecting the user as well. Virginia, as you say, our dynamic video ad product is the first step in bringing to life our e-commerce strategy.
Okay, moving ahead, noting time, perspectives, innovations, and this is a big picture I'm throwing at all of you. The future of advertising. Do we need more interactivity and as well as personalisation, or more personalisation? What's the perfect mix? Virginia, I'll start with you.
I absolutely believe that we need to create more interactive and interesting and fun experiences for audiences. They have 1,000 ads an hour being thrown at them from a content perspective. So if we don't start to engage and excite audiences, we're just going to lose them along the way. And so particularly on smaller devices, we definitely need to think about how we enhance the way we're creating advertising content in the channels that really serves the right purpose to engage and inspire audiences. So absolutely, it's critical that we work hard to make great strides in that interactivity and personalization moment.
Okay, Elisa, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think what we try to do at TikTok is we call it democratizing creativity. We have all the tools to create within the app itself. So what you see happen there's that theme of community, which is only going to continue to grow. The communities are moving faster. They're driving relevance and cultural change. And we think that engagement is really going to move us to what sophisticated mass marketing looks like. And then in terms of keeping the stories entertaining, we talk about kind of reframing the protagonist. It's where everyone gets to be the main character on TikTok. It's really kind of broken down the barriers. So it means you get lots of different stories, different diverse voices coming through. And I think, more voices and more diverse voices can only be a positive in our world for telling, stories in marketing and stories for brands as well.
Alex, what are your thoughts?
Agree with the interactivity. We've spoken about personalization already. There's limitations to that. But I think there's two sides to the coin. That is data usage. One is the degree of personalization that you can drive with it. I think there's other fundamental challenges that you can solve with it, which is measurement, the reduction of wastage, etc. And so my prediction would be, I think we see two kinds of advertisers navigating the connected TV space at the moment. One is the digital advertiser that's been quick to realize the opportunity, and they often find they often come from the programmatic space, and they find there's things that they can do that they're familiar with. And you have the other large group, which is traditional TV advertisers that might be new to CTV. So if anything, I would say what we'll see is folks moving towards a place where and the agencies are obviously totally across, helping them to navigate that opportunity, where they consider reaching a total TV audience across platforms.
Shani, do you want to weigh in on that one? The future of advertising. Do we need more interactivity and personalization? What's the key?
I'm going to say 100% yes to this. Look, being able to successfully bring together creativity, data, and commerce to engage consumers in more meaningful ways than we've been able to do previously is really important, because as Virginia talked to, it's about respecting that user and giving them something that's entertainment focused. Look, interactive ads on CTV, I know I talk about a lot, but are starting to emerge in Australia. Interactive and dynamic CTV advertising has been part of US streaming advertising product suites for a while. Companies like Innovid, Brightline are all driving that technology and functionality and powering these big streaming platforms, Paramount too. The future is, for me, where CTV and linear TV intersect. It's in the tools that allow this is the near future, that allow advertisers to plan, buy, and measure these disparate channels in a single view with standardized measurement and centralized data. And that future is like tomorrow. But when I think about the future, a couple of years from now, the growth of people streaming content on CTV and the resultant, increase in CTV advertising inventory is going to be unleashing even more innovation in the advertising ecosystem. I really think that from a mobile perspective, mobile and CTV will work closer together, and they kind of already do. But as smart home technology evolves, Alex talked about being that content and entertainment hub. Cross-device connection will become so much more seamless. Multi-experience content, so having a complementary experience on your mobile phone, will become common as media syncs across devices. But I think this is going to be more sophisticated, personalized, and actually standardized in the near future.
Okay, we've looked at that, but looking at some of the hindrances, some of the challenges that are faced by operators and broadcasters that need to be resolved. Virginia, I'll start with you, noting time-wise, we're getting towards the end.
So I think, in terms of the challenges, I think there's such a cost to all this. There's such an impact on time, and there's still the same amount of people and the same amount of budget that goes around in businesses. So I think there's a real challenge in manpower and how we make all these things happen at speed and catch up to audiences and what they expect from us. So I think that's our biggest challenge.
Elisa, what are your thoughts on the challenges that need to be resolved?
I'd align with Virginia and say, thinking specifically about TikTok, we're still quite new. So it feels quite different here. So, having that experimental mindset, but putting time towards it. We've got teams obviously to help our partners through that, but new things, resource, we appreciate. Our media partners are challenged for resource at the moment. It's been tough on the industry through the pandemic. So I'd just echo Virginia's thoughts.
Okay, Shani.
Yeah, look, I totally agree on the resource front, definitely. But I think also one of the things that is always a challenge is time to think creatively, is time to think progressively. And time will definitely be a challenge. But I think when I think about this, I think technology is changing so fast. And I really do think that technology can help us with the right people behind it to be able to kind of mitigate these challenges. But the other part, of course, is privacy and data, the top of mind, right? And regulations are being continuously updated. Keeping on top of all of these moving parts is our biggest challenge right now.
Alex, what are your thoughts on the challenges that need to be resolved for the industry?
I think there's a job to do still in dispelling myths. One of them is CTV does not equal BVOD. In fact, it's a single-digit percentage of consumption. Sometimes we make it too complicated. It's not rocket science. It's still just advertising on TV. But the digital element obviously unlocks incredible value. It would be naive to say that we're fully there yet in terms of measurement. I think we'll see that evolve. For example, in terms of how we define reach would be one of those. But we've also already come a long way if you think about how we've gone from a few thousand household panels to now being able to deterministically do stuff across millions of TVs. So it's come a long way, but we'll see it evolve further.
Okay, looking towards, we're almost wrapping up our 45 minutes, and I want to get a big picture kind of looking ahead from each of you. Sadly, I'll give you 30 seconds each, unfortunately, because we have run out of time. Virginia, where are we heading for 2022? What are your thoughts and predictions?
So in terms of 2022, my hope is that we are going to, now we're out of COVID lockdown, speed up how we think about how we engage audiences. So we need to delve more into gamification. We need to educate ourselves around how we can apply gamification effects to the type of advertising that we're creating. We cannot stay in the era of just creating a video content piece and expect that that is going to have massive cut through and growth for clients. So my hope is that we really start to use technology in the way we create advertising to engage audiences. So let's hope we can do a much better job of that this year.
Lisa, to TikTok, where do you see 2022 heading?
For us, it's all about 3 C's. So community, I've talked about quite a lot. Creators wasn't really a theme of today, but the impact of creators and seeing what's happening with items going viral, the hashtag TikTok made me buy it, those word of mouth recommendations that are just happening at mass scale that's driven through the creator community. And then commerce, we talked about community commerce as well, and really seeing the evolution of commerce through the power of entertainment on our platform is going to be really big for this year.
Shani from Paramount, your outlook for the future of 2022.
Well, 2022, look, we're at the nexus of a new era of advertising for video entertainment, specifically streaming video. And by leveraging insights, data, and emerging technology to deliver premium advertising experiences that complement the viewing experience, provide value to our users, and therefore deliver meaningful marketing and business outcomes for brands is really what we're going to double down on and focus on.
And Alex, we're ending with you. What can you see in your crystal ball?
Look, I think 2022 will hands down be the year where we'll see AVOD grow in popularity, both amongst audience and advertisers. One that we haven't spoken much about and feels like sometimes it doesn't get the airtime it deserves. I think gaming will be a big deal, and gaming audiences will grow, and advertisers are going to work to reach them. Finally, I think we'll hopefully move to a point where we acknowledge CTV is TV, at least it is to the audience. They don't care if it comes through an antenna cable or an internet connection. And I think marketers will increasingly look at it in this way and plan a video neutral approach. And obviously, sometimes these structures aren't that easy to evolve, but we see on the buy side, everyone has teams in place to move in that direction.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, Elisa. And thank you, Shani, for a great conversation. And to the audience for joining us as well. You've played a very big role in this dynamic conversation, and I hope you've enjoyed it. So passing back to you, Shana, to conclude.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for connecting today at our very first edition of Nextv series, Australia and New Zealand. I would like to thank all our speakers, sponsors, attendees, and moderator for making today's event possible. Do check out our Data Access website. We do have a lot of exciting events coming up for 2022. And our next virtual conference is the Nextv series Southeast Asia, scheduled for the 29th of June. So thank you all. Thank you, Virginia, Shani, Alex, and Elisa. And I'll speak to you all soon, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Shana and Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.